Hey guys, so here we'll be going through the entire 1HR paper, and this is from the summer 2019 series, okay? And we're gonna try and break this down in the next 1 hour or so. So as always, yeah, always make sure you got a calculator with you. A nice Casio one always does good. And you're gonna write all your answers in black ink, okay? Now I'm gonna go straight into this, yeah? So since the paper's out of 100, we're gonna try and do this. Every 25 marks should be done in about 25 minutes. With me, I'm gonna try and do it in 15. So let's have a look. So as always, you get the formula sheet, you get the arithmetic series formula. So I've got a bunch of these already covered in some of my complete topic walkthroughs. So if you don't know where my complete topic walkthroughs are, just go to my channel and it should be somewhere in the revision section. Okay, so let's look at the first question, which is number 1. So the diagram shows a cylinder. Okay, so here's our cylinder. The cylinder has a radius of 8.2, so this length here, and a height of 10. The cylinder is empty. Now Pam pours 1.5 liters of water into the cylinder, so it's kind of slowly filling up. Work out the depth of the water of the cylinder. In other words, work out how high the water has reached. Okay, so suppose you pour water in, it's probably something like this right now. So it's currently being filled up. Okay, so to do this, really nice and simple. Because we're working in centimeters and we've got liters, we need to firstly make sure everything's the same unit. So first thing I'll do is convert 1.5 liters into centimeter cubed. Because when you work out the volume of a cylinder, the answer will be in centimeter cubed. Now to convert this directly, we should know that every 1 liter, there's 1,000 centimeter cubed. So 1.5 liters, there's going to be 1,500 centimeter cubed. So this is the volume of the water. Okay, so we're not interested in the volume of the whole cylinder, by the way. We just want to see how high the water went up. So we're trying to find a new depth. So let's call it D here, yeah? Now, using the volume of a cylinder formula, which is given to us, by the way, the formula is always going to be pi r squared times the height. So this is nice, yeah? We actually got everything we need. We've got the volume already of the cylinder, which is 1500, equal pi, which is in the calculator. The radius is 8.2. And just be careful, the height is not 10. The height we're trying to find is the depth, D. And that's it. So then all we do is literally make D the subject. And to do that, just divide pi times 8.2 squared across. So it'll be 1500 over all of these guys. Pi times 8.2 squared equals the depth. And when you smash that on your calculator, you should get an answer which is roughly equal to 7.1 centimeters. And that's it, guys. Easy as that. Okay, number 2. So each interior angle of a regular polygon, so keyword regular means that every single side and angle is the same, of this interior angle is 162 degrees. Work out the number size the polygon has. Okay, well, every time you got questions on interior and exterior angle, we should always write down all the relevant formulas. So in this case, we should know that the interior angle plus an exterior angle of any regular polygon always adds up to 180 degrees, okay? Another useful formula is the fact that the number of sides always equals 360 degrees over its exterior angle. Now looking at everything we have, well, since we know that the interior angle is 162, we can substitute into the first formula here to get something like 162 plus the exterior angle equals 180. So therefore, making the exterior angle the subject, it must be 18 degrees. Okay, now plugging it into this formula here where n equals 360 over the exterior angle, we can find that the number size equals 360 divided by 18, and this should give us 20 sides. So in fact, this shape is a 20-sided regular polygon. Okay, number 3. So here we're looking at set theory. So we're giving an entire set or domain which contains elements 11, 12, all the way up to 20, going in ones, yeah? So this is literally all the numbers we can possibly have in this set of rules. Now we're given a set A which consists of even numbers. Now what it means by even numbers is talking about even numbers in the sense of all the variable numbers you have at the top. So in this case, the even numbers could be starting from 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. Okay, so this is your complete set. This is just like a subset of that kind of E looking thing, yeah? Now set B are all multiples of 3, in other words, a 3 times table. So going from the 3 times tables of our entire set, we can say we got a 12, a 15, and an 18. So all of this fits the 3 times tables. Okay, so now since we got all this information here, we can now answer the questions, yeah? So the question 1 tells us to list the members of the set in A intersecting with B. So this kind of arch means an intersection. In other words, what does A and B have in common? Well, we see that A and B has a 12 in common and also an 18 in common. And that's it. So these are your 2 elements or 2 members of the set. Now the second part, A uniting with B. So the U is uniting, a union. In other words, list every member in A and B, but don't repeat it. So looking at B, we can see that A has got 5 different elements, but B has the same thing except, okay, it has less things, but it has 15, which is different, and that's the only unique element it has. So in other words, just write everything A has and just put the extra thing B has. So in other words, it has a 12, a 14, there's a 15, there's a 16, 18, and 20. Okay, so it's not too bad. It's just literally observing and listing. Now the final bit, this kind of little dash, this means the complement A. So in other words, this means everything not A has. Everything A has, but what it doesn't have, yeah? So since A are all even numbers, the elements of not A are the numbers that it doesn't have. So for example, it doesn't have an 11, it doesn't have a 13, it doesn't have a 15, or a 17, or a 19. And that's it, guys. That's question 3 done. All right, number 4. All right, so this is easily one of my favorites. So now we need to solve this equation here. Okay, so to solve any equation, the rule is get all your x's on the left and all your non-x's on the right. So just looking at this for a second, yeah, we got 4x on the left and plus 8x on the right. To move plus 8x across the equal sign, you got minus 8x. So it's going to be 4x minus 8x. And to get minus 13 on the right, to move minus 13 across is going to be a plus 13. So we're going to have 17 plus 13 on the right. Now, all you got to do is just tidy this up. So looking on the left-hand side, 4x take away 8x is minus 4x. 17 plus 13 is 30. Then just divide it by minus 4. So x equals 30 over minus 4. And putting this in your calculator or simplifying it, you should get minus 7.5. You could leave it as a fraction as well, which would also be minus 15 over 2. So both answers are fine. Okay, number 5. So A, write 720 as a product of its prime factors. Show you're working clearly. Alright, so this means you just got to use the factor tree and keep breaking it down into primes. So let's start off 720 as it suggests. Now to go down, always try and divide by 2 if you can first, yeah? So dividing by 2, you can, so you can get 2 and 360. So yeah, use a calculator if you're not sure if you need to divide. And then halving this again, you get 2 and 180. Dividing this by 2 again, you get 2 and 90. So far it looks good. Now I'm just going to just bend the tree a bit, yeah? Dividing 90 by 2, you get 45 and 2. And dividing 45 by, okay, so you can't divide by 2, but you can divide by 5. It's in the 5 times table. You get 5 times 9. And are we almost done? Nope. Dividing 9 now. Well, 9 can be broken up as 3 by 3. And that's it. So you've literally found the products. Now all you want to do at this stage is just circle your last legs. So for example, you're going to circle this 2, 2, 2, 2, 5, 3, and 3. And now we're going to go ahead and collect them, yeah? So we can see we've got how many 2's. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So this means you got 2 to the power 4 times. How many 3's we got? 1, 2. So 3 power 2, 3 squared times. And then we got, let's see, a single 5. So 5 to the power 1 or just 5. So this is your product of prime factors. Now, looking at part B. Find the smallest whole number that 720 can be multiplied by to give a square number. Okay, so what this means by the smallest whole number of 720, this actually means that since we broke 720 into a product of prime factors, we got a whole bunch of numbers. So this means that we know that 720 can be divided by, let's say, look at this, by 2 first. It can also be divided by 3, it can be divided by 5, and so on. Next one would be, I don't know, 2 squared, which is 4, so actually 4 would be the next bigger, and so on. So what they want us to do is select one of these numbers, just divide them, see if you get a square number. So let's try 2 first, yeah? So let's start from here. So let's divide 720 by 2. Well, you get 360. That's not a square number. Divide 720 by, the next one was 3. So 720 divided by 3, I should know this mentally. You get 240. That's not a square number. Divide 720 by 5, you get 144. Yeah, actually that's a square number. That's the same as 12 squared. So find the smallest number, that will be 5. 5 gives us a square number. Dividing by 5 gives us the square number of 12. 12 squared is 144. And that's it, guys. Alright, number 6. So Lorenzo increases all the prices on his restaurant menu by 8%. So let's keep that in mind. Before the increase, so the original value, the price of a dessert was $4.25. Work out the price for dessert after the increase. In other words, work out the new value. Now, for every percentage question, there's always a super easy formula I've been using. And if you guys have been following my videos, you've seen it before. It's the OV-NV formula, which is the original value times some multipliers, so 1 plus minus a rate, will give us a new value. Okay? In this case, the old value was $4.25. So since we know that all the prices on the restaurant has gone up by 8%, we're going to use the plus value. So it'll be 1 plus 8%. Now be careful here. It says 8%, not 8. So it's not going to equal 9%. In your calculator, you've got a percentage button. So you make sure you write carefully 1 plus 8%. If you can't find a percentage button, then just convert 8% to 0.08. So it's going to be 1 plus 0.08. And this will give us the new value. So literally just smash this all at once in your calculator. And doing so, you're going to get exactly $4.59. Now, the next part is literally the same thing, yeah? So it says that after the increase, so after the 8% has been affected, the price of lasagna is $9.45. Work out the price of lasagna before the increase. So this time they want you to find the OV value, the original. So again, we're going to actually use the same formula here. So repeating the formula, just writing it here. We've got OV 1 plus, because we know it's an increase, some rate will give us a new value. Well, using all the values we got, so since we're trying to find the OV value, we can say that OV times 1 plus 8% must give us $9.45. So all we do is literally just divide this part across and make OV subject. So therefore, OV equals 9.45 over 1 plus 8%. Just put that in your bracket, put that all in the calculator exactly as it is. Don't do no middle steps, yeah? And when you do that, you should just get a straight up answer of $8.75. Alright, number 7. So the diagram shows an isosceles triangle ABC. So isosceles literally means that two lengths on both sides are the same and two angles are also the same. Okay? Now, it tells us that we got a length AB, which is equal to AC, which is 7.5. So yep, they show it here. Cool. The height of the triangle is 6. So that's the vertical height from top to bottom. Calculate the area of the triangle. Okay, so not too bad. So to work out the area of the triangle, let's put a formula down. It's always half times the base times the height. Well, we don't have a base, but we got a height. So the only way to actually get the base is to use Pythagoras Theorem. And why? It's because we've got a right angle triangle right here. And also the other side. So we're going to try and figure out what this little base bit. Well, actually the base is the whole thing, but we're going to try and work out this little small base first. So let's call that x. And when you work out this x value, well, double it and then you got the whole base. So let's do it. Now to use Pythagoras theorem, it's always a squared plus b squared equals the hypotenuse squared. So in other words, we got 6 squared plus x squared must equal 7.5 squared. Now to get x, we just subtract 6 squared across. So we're going to have x squared equal 7.5 squared minus 6 squared. So put this all in the calculator and then therefore square root your answer. When you do this, you're going to get 4.5 centimeters. So that's our x value. So in other words, our x value right now, just updating everything, is 4.5. That means the whole base, which is 2 times that because it's exactly the same, is going to be now 9 centimeters. So this means to work out the area of the triangle, we can use the formula we had right over here. So it's going to be half times the base. So what's the base again? The base is 9 times the height, which is 6. Put this in your calculator and you should get 27 centimeter squared. That's it, guys. I hope this question helped. All right, question 8. So there are 10 people in a lift. These 10 people have a mean weight of 79.2 kg. Okay, so this is so far 10 people included. Now it tells us that 3 of these people get out of the lift. These 3 people have a mean weight of 68 kg. So it's way less than these guys. Work out the mean weight of the 7 people left in the lift. So these 7 people must have a weight way bigger than the total average. Now, how to work this out? So this kind of question, we always use something known as the weighted mean equation, yeah? Now the weighted mean equation is so nicely written. So the way it works, we have a first group. So let's split this 10 people in 2 groups, yeah? We go group A, which is 3 people, and group B, which is 7. So let's just label it A and B. Now, to write an equation, we can say that of these 3 people, group A, they have a mean weight of 68 kg. So this is A times the mean weight of A, plus the group B, which is 7 people, have a mean weight of, I don't know, let's just call it M, so MB. And it must equal the total number of people, which is 10, and its total mean weight, which is 79.2. So quite straightforward. So you got group A times its mean, plus group B times its mean equals the total group, everybody times its total mean. Now, as you can see, all we got to do is literally find the value of MB. And to do it, just make MB the subject. So what I do is just multiply this out. So you go first things first, 3 times 68. That's going to give us 204 plus, this will be 7. Let's just call it 7M equals 10 times that, 792. Now to make M the subject, just subtract 204 across. So you got 7M equals that minus 204. Yep, I can't be, so you can put this in a calculator. And then lastly, divide that by 7. And when you divide your final result by 7, you should get a total mean, a mean weight of 84 kg. And this is the mean weight of group B. And that's it, guys. That's literally done. Okay, guys, number 9 is my absolute favorite kind of question you can get, yeah? I'm sure you guys love these too. So let's quickly rush through these. So part A, simplify t to the power 9 divided by t to the power 3. So when you divide, you subtract the powers. So you got 9 take away 3, which is 6. So it's t to the power 6. Next one, simplify this. W power 5 times w power 7. When you multiply, you add the powers. So 5 plus 7 is 12. W power 12. Last one, simplify 5xy squared, all of it cubed. Now when it says this, you literally just attach a power 3 to everything. So 5 gets a power of 3, x gets a power of 3, and since 2 is already attached, you just stick it with a 3 as well. So this becomes 2 times 3. So now this total result, you got 5 to the power 3, which is 5 times 5 times 5. On the calculator, 125. X to the power 3, and then 2 times 3 as a power is 6. That's it, guys. That's literally wrapped up. All right, 10. So change 22 meters per second, okay, to a speed in kilometers per hour. All right, not too bad. So they want us to basically go from meters to kilometers, and change seconds to an hour. Okay, let's do the meters first, yeah? So for meters, we need to know firstly that there is 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. Since we got 22 meters, just to make your life easy, divide by 1,000. So it's going to be over 1,000 kilometers. Likewise, for the second components, we know there is, so this is kind of a trick. You need to go from seconds to minutes, minutes to hours. We need to know there is 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. In other words, there's going to be 60 times 60 seconds in 1 hour. Okay, it's just basically, if you multiply this, because you have to go 2 steps, seconds to minutes and then minutes hour, and you have to go 60 twice. So this means there are basically 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. Now because it's per second, this means that 1 second is its inverse, must be 1 over 3,600 hours. So therefore, to finally convert it, we can say that 22 meters per 1 second is the same as, using our conversion, 22 over 1,000 kilometers per 1,300 hours. And then that's literally it. And then putting this exactly in the calculator, just literally don't write kilometer, you can't write K, M or H in the calculator. Put this in a fraction, in a triple fraction, and you should get a direct answer of 79.2 kilometers per hour. That's it, guys. That's what we do. Okay, 11. So some 3 years ago, the ratio of Tom's age to Clemmy's age was 2 to 7. Okay, keep that in mind. Ratio of Tom's age to Clemmy's age was that ratio. Now, Tom is 15 years old. So 3 years later, Tom is 15 years old and Clemmy is now X years old. Find the value of X. Alright, so the way this works, we need to kind of go back to the first statement using info from the second. So let's go back 3 years ago, yeah? We know at this stage, the ratio of Tom's age to Clemmy's age was 2 to 7. In terms of actual numbers, we know that 3 years ago, Tom must have been 12 years old, yeah? Since he was 15 3 years later. And since Clemmy was X years old in that timeline, 3 years back, she must be, well, X minus 3. Literally that. Now, this is all the info we got. So to get the value X, what I would do is just ask myself, what is like the scale factor between 2 to 12 and 7 to that? Well, to get from 2 to 12, we know we can multiply by 6. Because ratios like fractions, you've got to do the same on both sides. So you got to times this by 6 to get that result. So in other words, using Tom's age, this means that 2 times 6 must give us 12. That's correct. As for Clemmy, this means 7 times 6 must give us X minus 3. So now we just got to solve this equation. And we're done. So 7 times 6 is 42. That's going to equal X minus 3. And then just add 3 across, you're going to get 45. So 45 must equal X. And this is the age of Clemmy right now. Okay, number 12. So we're given a pressure which is equal to a force by area. So this is a formula which we usually have to memorize. A box in the shape of a cuboid is going to be put on the table. The whole of one face of the box will be in contact with the table. The force exerted by the box on the table is always 105 newtons. So this is our constant force here. So that's covered. So this part is 105. Oh, 105. Okay. The box has dimensions 5 by 4 by 3. One quick note, guys, yeah? Because we're dealing with area, we don't want the volume. So what it's trying to say is that because we're dealing with one whole of a face, yeah? We just need the area of one face, one of the sides. So in other words, we can say like 5 by 4 or 4 by 3 or 5 by 3, for instance, yeah? That's all we need. So the greatest pressure exerted by the box on the table is P newtons per meter square, and the least pressure is Q. Work out the value of P minus Q. In other words, the difference between the greatest and the least pressure. Alright, so all you have to do is basically work out what the greatest pressure is, the least pressure, and then subtract them. So to get the greatest pressure, so let's say it's P, right? It's going to be the force, which is 105, over the area. Now the area depends, so we need to think about what would give us the greatest value. Well, to get the biggest value, you need to get the smallest possible denominator, because a big numerator divided by a small denominator will give us a really big answer. If this value is big here, then you're going to get a smaller result. So the smallest area I could think of would be 3 times 4. Okay, when you do that, you should get a result of 8.75. Okay, so this could be the greatest pressure. Now for the least pressure, again, the force is constant. It's going to be something which has a bigger denominator, because the closer the values are, the smaller the result. And the biggest value I could think of would be 5 times 4. So 5 times 4. And in doing that, you're going to get an actual pressure of 5.25. So notice how this works, yeah? You chose a smaller value, you got a larger pressure. You chose a larger value here, and you got a small pressure. Makes sense, yeah? It's like comparing the top and bottom. So therefore, the value of P minus Q would just be this value, take away that value. And subtracting those two, you should get 3.5. And that's it. Just leave your answer there. Alright, 13. So on the Venn diagram, shade the set A uniting with B, or the complement of A uniting B, intersecting with C. Alright, let's take our time with this here. So A uniting B means all of A and all of B. So essentially means this area here uniting with all of B. Now, however, complement meaning is everything outside the circle. So actually, it won't be all of this. It'll be everything around it. outside A and B. So basically something like that. Okay, now it's saying that this segment is going to intersect with C. So what I'm going to do is get another color and shade C. And then we're going to see what they both, what is actually being overlapped. Well, looking at the diagram carefully, the only thing being overlapped is actually this small segment here. It's got red and purple. So this would be our actual final result. So everything outside this can be removed. Yeah, and that's it. So just shade, so basically just cancel all of this and cancel this red marker here. Yeah, usually these kind of questions I always recommend using two different colors. Yeah, I know in the pencil in the exam you can use black, but what you could do is use a pencil and or maybe try different patterns, you know, do stripes like this for one segment, and then maybe like this direction for the other element, and see what intersects. Okay, let's move on to B then. Yeah. Okay, so use set notation. So hold on. Use set notation to describe the shaded region in the Venn diagram below. Okay, all right. So I had some thinking of this one. So what it looks to me is that F has got the better deal. F has got 3 elements shaded in, but if you look at the perspective of D, only these 2 are shaded. But if you look in the perspective of E, again only 2 is shaded. So what this tells me is that we should focus on F intersecting with the union of D and E. Because if you unite D and E as in 1, so this would be D uniting with E, and then you just pick F on its own, you can see that actually everything seems to line up. I mean, this part all completely intersects with both purple and orange. So, and that's just F, by the way. Yeah? So we can so this notation is literally just F uniting with D and E. That's it. That's no, not uniting, sorry, intersecting, because it's a common element. Intersecting with D and E. Yep, and that's it, guys. If you got any questions with these problems, let me know. I should have quite a few different worksheets on this, yeah? Have a go and let me know what you guys think, yeah? Alright, number 14. So each day that Barney goes to college, he either goes by bus or he walks. The probability that Barney will go to college by bus on any day is 0.3. When Barney goes to college by bus, the probability that he will be late is 0.2. But if Barney walks to college, the probability that he'll be late is 0.1. Complete the tree diagram. Alright, so they've already done one of us, which is 0.3 for bus, meaning this must be 0.7. So for every single tree, it must always add up to 1, yeah? Now let's look at what they're talking about for the second line here, the second paragraph. So apparently, when Barney goes to college by bus, so he takes the bus route, the probability that he will be late is 0.2. So this would be here, because this is the late tree. This means that probability he won't be late must be 0.8. Because remember, they must add up to make 1. Likewise, if he walks to college, so we're taking the down route, the probability that he will be late is 0.1. So that's here. Meaning not late must be 0.9. So that's it. That's just easy 2 marks bagged. Now, Barney will go to college on 200 days next year. So in other words, forget that. Work out an estimate for the number of days Barney will be late for college next year. So notice it's talking about specifically being late. It doesn't tell you what method he's using, yeah? So the only way to be late is that if you catch a bus and be late, or you decide to walk and be late. So the probability of these things happening, well, you just follow the tree. So if you're going to be late through busway, it will be 0.3 times 0.2. Multiply these two, you can get 0.06. But if you decide to walk and then be late, it's going to be 0.7 times 0.1, which is 0.07. So meaning the total probability of actually being late, you just add them up, is going to equal 0.13, yeah? Now, this would be cool. This usually is the end of the answer, but it tells us that he's going to do this for 200 days. In other words, you got 13% chance of being late over 200 days. So let's multiply 0.13 with 200. So 200 times 0.13, this means that he's going to probably be late for 26 of the days. That's it, guys. Okay, so I've had a look at this question and it's all about straight lines. And I already see some keywords like perpendicular. So for this kind of topic, before you even start the question, always write down this equation, which is y equals mx plus c. Okay, so this is your standard straight line equation where m here is your gradient, i.e. the slope of the line, and c is the y-intercept, so it's where it hits the y-axis, yeah? This is literally fundamental. When you get this, you can solve anything to do straight lines. So now we begin the question, yeah? So the straight line L1 has equation 2y equals 3x minus 5. So straight away, make it look like the standard form, yeah? So you gotta make it y equals. In other words, divide the equation by 2 to get y equals 3x minus 5 over 2. Okay, so our gradient in this case is 3. So m is the gradient. Now the straight line L2 is perpendicular to L1. So perpendicular literally means that if one line is facing this direction, the other line is going to be at a 90-degree angle in this direction. So this is a perpendicular line, L1 and L2. So with perpendicular lines, this has an impact on the gradient. If the gradient in this case is 3 for L1, that means the L2 gradient is going to be its inverse negative reciprocal. So it's going to be minus 1 over 3. Okay, so you flip upside down, 3 becomes 1 over 3, and you change the positive sign to a negative sign. So immediately we know that the equation of a line for L2, y equals minus a third x plus some unknown c, which we need to figure out, yeah? So that's cool. Now we know that this line, which is perpendicular, passes through the point 9 minus 1. So all you want to do here is plug in this coordinate on that line. So we know that x is 9, y is minus 1. We can get the value of c. So let's do that, yeah? So we can say at 9 minus 1, we're going to have, I'm going to use blue pen, minus 1 for y equals minus a third times 9 plus c. Okay, and just simplifying that equation, minus a third times 9 in your calculator gives us minus 3, and left with plus c. And then adding 3 across, you're going to get minus 1 plus 3, which is 2. So c equals 2. So updating our equation, we now have y equals minus a third x plus 2. Okay, so this is usually the end of the question, but it gets a little bit extra, yeah? So we found the equation. It says give your answer in the form ay plus bx equals c. So just put y and x on the same left-hand side, yeah? So we need to basically move minus a third x to the left by adding it, so it's to be y plus a third x plus 2. Equals 2. Oof, almost messed up. Yeah, guys, and yeah, that's it. That's the end of the question. All right, 16. So a particle P is moving along a straight line. The fixed point O lies on this line. So at time t seconds, the displacement or the distance, s meters of P from O is given by this equation here. At time t seconds, the velocity of P is v meters per second. Find expression for v in terms of t. Okay, so a useful fact with this is that we're going to use the method of differentiation to go from s to v, yeah? So the way it works is that this is usually the process. To go from displacement to velocity, we need to differentiate this with respect to t. And to go from velocity to the next one, acceleration, you differentiate the velocity equation by t again. So this is also known as ds over dt, this part here, so that should be the same. And acceleration is also known as dv over dt. Let's find expression for v. So let's go ahead and differentiate this equation here, yeah? To differentiate, you just drop the power and multiply here and then subtract the power by 1. So 3 times 4 is 12, and you got t, and subtract this by 1, you get 2. Next one, you drop the power 2 down, so you got 6 times 2 is 12t. Subtract the power by 1, you get just t to the power 1, or just t. And lastly, differentiate 5t, well, you just left with plus 5. Because this is t to the power 1, drop the 1 down, 1 times 5 is 5, and you left with t to the power 0. Anything to the power 0 is 1. That's why it vanishes. Yeah, and that's it, guys. That's the answer to A. Now for B, it says find the time at which the acceleration of the particle is 6. So first things first, we need to find the acceleration, yeah? So acceleration, again, you differentiate now the velocity equation with respect to t. So once again, drop the power 2 down, you get 2 times 12 is 24. Subtract the power by 1, you left with t to the power 1, which is t. Same thing applies here. Differentiate minus 12t, you left with just minus 12. That's it. Now it says here, so we're not actually done yet. It says find the value t at which the acceleration is 6. So in other words, when a is 6, what's t? So just replace a with 6. You just solve this equation right here. Find the value t. So what we could do is add 12 across, so you get 18 equals 24t. Divide this by 24 and you should get t equals 0.75. All right, number 17. So the histogram shows information about the age of all the passengers traveling on the plane. So no one on the plane is older than 80 years old. All right, so this is limited between 0 and 80. So 24 passengers on the plane are aged between 40 and 60 years. All right, so we're talking about this region here, yeah, this block right here. We know that the total number of passengers is 24. Okay, work out the total number of passengers on the plane. So in other words, all the rest of the areas. Now, the problem with this question is that we don't actually know the height, the frequency density of each of these values. So here we kind of have to try and figure this out. If we can figure out the height, we can easily work out the area of each rectangle. So let's look at the first block here. Let's try and figure out what this height could have been to get this answer of area 24. Well, looking at the width here, we know that the width is 20, right? So we know that 20 times something gives us 24. Let's call this height x, yeah? Actually, better yet, let's do it a bit different. Let's count how many blocks there are, yeah? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's call the height 6x. So the height is 6x. So therefore, this means that 20 times 6x, which is 120x, must equal 24. Dividing this across to find x should be 0.2. Okay, perfect. Now, what this is telling us here? So what this is telling us now that since we can try and work out the height of every single block, we can easily find the area of each block in terms of x, then replace x as 0.2 and you got the total area, okay? So just quick recap, this is 24, yeah? Total value is 24 here. So now let's work out the rest. So let's start with the small block. We can see the height is just 2, so the height is just 2x. The width is 10. 10 times 2x is 20x. Likewise, the next one, yeah? Just delete this stuff. So we have now a height here, so maybe I'll zoom in from now on. So guys, you got, let's see, 1, 2, so it's 5, so it's 9x, so it's 9 by 10 is 90, so 90x. Okay, next one, this long one, check it out. So you got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 32. So the height is 32x, and this is a skinny block of 5, so 5 by 32 is 160x. Okay, next one here, next rectangle. You got a width of 15, 15 by 10, 150, 150x. This is 24 whole, yeah, no x's, yeah. Last one, move to the right a bit, hold on, zoom out actually. So you got a width here of 20, and it goes up by 4, so 4 times 20 is 80x. That's it, guys. Now all you want to do is literally add up all of these x's, yeah. And when you add them all, you should get, just to be clear what I got, you should get 500x. Okay, plus the 24, yeah. Now since you know x is 0.2, you plug it in, and I'm just going to double check this now. So 500 times 0.2 plus, and you should get, voila. So you should get 500, replace it 0.2 plus the extra 24. You should get total number of passengers of 124 people. Yeah, and that's your answer, 124. Okay, not bad. Now, last bit, yeah. So a passenger on the plane is picked at random. Work out an estimate for the probability that this person is older than 55. Okay, so we need to find out how many people firstly are older than 55, and then that's going to be out of 124 people. So people older than 25, so let me just cut this down. It's not bad. Older than 55 looks like it's around this mark here. If we know, and we can kind of see that this block is now being split into, like this is probably a quarter of the whole rectangle here. If the whole rectangle is 24, this is, you divide this by 4, so it'll be 24 over 4, this would be a total area of 6. So then the total number of people is just 6 plus 80x. And since we know x is 0.2, this means we've got a total number of people of 80 times 0.2 of 22. So 80 times 0.2 plus 6 gives us 22 people older than 55. So that's this total area. So yeah, so this means that the probability of that this person is older than 55, well, there's 22 of them out of 124 passengers. Okay, number 18. So expand and simplify this triple bracket and show your working clearly. Okay, for triple bracket problems, a super easy way to do this is to always expand the last two brackets using the FOIL method, yeah? So FOIL literally just means you multiply the first term with the first term of the second bracket, then with the second term, and then you pick the +3 and you multiply against the x and the -7. Okay, so nice and easy. So let's just ignore x plus 2 for a second, yeah? So I'm going to rewrite it here. We're going to have x plus 2, and now we're going to multiply out these right two-hand side brackets, yeah? So you got 2x and x, so just put a big bracket like this. You get 2x squared. 2x times -7 is -14x. 3 times x is plus 3x. By the way, combining these two before you times the last term, -14 plus 3 is -11x. So let me just update that. And lastly, 3 times -7 is -21. Okay, so that was easy. Now what we want to do next is repeat the FOIL method, but this time with the linear term and the quadratic term, yeah? So once again, just put your arrow, so x times 2x squared, and then 11x, and then times it with -21. And then repeat the process with 2. So 2 with that, with this, and finally with that. So that's what we do. Now, my advice is always try, when you multiply out, line it up nicely, yeah? So x times all of these first terms, you're going to get a 2x cubed, then -11x squared, and a -21x. Okay? Next, I'll change the color of the pen. You can times everything by 2 now, yeah? So 2x squared times 2 is 4x squared. So I'm going to carefully line it under the x squared column, yeah? That way it makes adding easier. 2 times 11x is -22x. And lastly, 2 times -21 is -42. And now we just collect like terms, yeah? But what I usually do is just put a line like this and just collect them. So adding downwards, 2x cubed is just 2x cubed. 11x squared plus 4x squared is -7x squared. -21x minus 22x is -43x. And finally, just -42. And that's it, guys. That's literally done. All right, part B. So here they want us to make m the subject of this equation here, okay? Ooh, so with these kind of questions, you got m at the top and m at the bottom. Now, what I would personally do is always clear the fraction, yeah? So definitely move these lot across to the left. So to clear the fraction, you're going to multiply 2m minus y to the left. So we're going to get p squared times 2m minus y equals, and we're left with now x plus m. Okay, so now we begin. So expanding the bracket, you're going to get p squared times 2m, which is 2p squared m minus p squared y equals x plus m. Now, a nice trick is to line up all the terms you're interested in on one side and the other terms that don't have m on the other side. So in this case, this is perfect, but now we want to move plus m to the left. And then after we do that, we're going to move the rest to the right. So let's have a look. So 2p squared m stays here. We're going to minus m across. We're also going to plus this term to the right. So we're going to get positive p squared y, and we still got a plus x. And yeah, almost done. Now all we want to do here is to isolate the m, yeah? So this is the tricky bit. To isolate the m, you just take the common factor, so m goes out, and you're left with a 2p squared minus, divide this by m, you get 1. And then copy the right side. Now lastly, to make m the subject, just divide this entire term across. So lastly, you're going to get you're going to get m equal to the right hand side divided by that bracket term, 2p squared minus 1. And yep, that's it. This question solved. By the way, there is alternative answers to this. You might have something like x plus p squared y, or like a different way of writing these letters. You don't have to write everything in this order. It can be yp squared or x plus yp squared. You could even write -1 plus 2p squared. It doesn't matter, as long as you got the same terms in, as long as the signs are correct, and it looks kind of like that. But anyway, guys, let's move on to the next one. Okay, question 19. So the 25th term of an arithmetic series is 44.5 and the sum of the first 30 terms of this arithmetic series is 765. Okay, before I read the actual question, let's go ahead and write everything related to arithmetic series, okay? So in this case, we have something known as the nth term, so we need an equation for that. And we also have the sum of some number of terms. There's two formulas for this. The first one is the nth term, which I'm going to call a un. And the general formula for the nth term is always a plus n minus 1 times the common difference d. Now for the sum version, you have the sum of the n terms, and this is actually given in the front of the front of your formula sheet, in the front of the book, front of the paper. And the formula here is always n over 2 times 2a plus, and then the rest is similar, n minus 1 times d. Okay, now what we're going to do right here is we're going to try and plug in these terms, yeah, and just update these equations. And then we're going to have basically simultaneous equations in terms of a and d. So let's check it out. So plugging in the fifth term, so this means u25, and that's meant to equal 44.5, yeah? So u25 is supposed to equal a plus, and now we know n is 25, right? So n take away 1 is 24, d, and that's supposed to equal 44.5. So here is our first equation, yes? I'm going to highlight it so to avoid confusion. So you can ignore the u25 now. Next one is the sum of 30 terms, so s30. And again, using the formula on the left, we've got n over 2, so 30 over 2, which is 15, times, and we've got 2a, which is the same, plus, you've got n minus 1. Since n is 30, 30 take away 1 is 29, d, and that's supposed to equal 765. Okay, so next step here now, yeah? I'm going to try and do this, I'm going to solve this simultaneously in a very quick way, yeah? So using these two equations, instead of like expanding the second equation where you got 15 times the rest, I'm going to divide 15 across the right side because 765 is divisible by 15. So this means the bottom equation is going to be left with 2a plus 29d, so we ignore that. 765 divided by 15, I got 51. Okay, so this is one equation. Now looking at the first equation here, we want to somehow solve this simultaneously, right? So my tip is to try and make the coefficient of a the same. So this is literally 1a. I'm going to double this equation to get 2a, yeah? So times in this whole equation by 2, we're going to get 2a plus 48d, and that's going to equal 89. Okay, so far so good. Now I'm going to subtract these two equations here to eliminate 2a's, yeah? But I'm going to subtract it upside down. So I'm going to do this equation, subtract to the top line. So 2a take away 2a, 0. 48d take away 29d is, what did I get? I got 19d. And 89 take away 51 is 38. You could do upside down, but you just get negative signs. And then dividing 19 across, then you get a common difference of 2. Now, before we even solve this question, yeah, we're going to just find out what d and a is, yeah, because we don't have that. So since d is 2, we can find a easily, yeah. So I'm going to go back to the very first equation here. So updating that equation there, you got a plus 24 times 2, which is 48, equals 44.5. And therefore, solving for a by subtracting 48 across, you should get a negative 3.5. Now, we've got two terms, a and d. So when you got a and d, you can literally solve anything now. You can find any term, you can find any sum, and you're good. So looking at the question, it says find the 16th term of an arithmetic series. The 16th term. So that just means find u16. So u16, using the general formula, is a plus n minus 1d. We know what a is minus 3.5 plus n minus 1, 16 take away 1 is 15, times d is 2. And that's it. Plug this in your calculator and you should get a result of 26.5. And that's it, guys. This is your number 19 done. It says here that we got a equals 25 times 10 to the power 14n, where n is an integer. Now, find an expression in terms of n for a to the power 3 over 2. Give your answer in standard form. Alright, so all you have to do here, to get a to the power 3 over 2, literally copy this expression, 25 times 10 to the power 14 to the power n, wrap it around in a bracket, and put power of 3 over 2, because that's what they want. Now, just like normal indices, when you times something by power, you attach it to every term. So we're going to have now 25 to the power of 3 over 2 times 10 to the power of 14n, and because the powers are on the same line, well, they should kind of be in the same line, it will be times 3 over 2. Now we just evaluate them individually. So for the first bit, this is dead easy. Just smashing your calculator, you should get 125 times. Now for this part, you just multiply head on. So it's 14n times 3 over 2. Well, in your calculator, just write 14 times 3 over 2, and you're going to get 21, so 21n. Now, usually this would be the end of the question, but because they got standard form involved, this means that we need to make this first term, the first set of numbers, less than 10, yeah? And to do so, we need to rewrite it as 1.25, because this is less than 10, bigger than 0. And when you write this, you'll realize that you took 2 tens out of this. So we're going to give these 2 tens to this power, so it'll be plus an extra 2 tens. And that's it, guys. This question is done. All right, number 21. So a curve has equation y equals fx. There is only one maximum point on the curve. The coordinates of this maximum point are 4, 3. So x is 4, y is 3. Write down the coordinates of the maximum point of the curve using the following two. So we just need to be comfortable with transformations here, yeah? So it's telling us in the first transformation that we now have fx, which becomes fx minus 5. So inside the bracket, when it says x minus 5, we do the opposite. We're now going to add every x coordinate by plus 5. So this means we look at 4, 3, just add 5 to the x coordinate, and it's going to become a 9, 3. And that's it. For the second part, it says 3 times the function. So since y equals that function, we're going to multiply all the y terms by 3. So looking at its coordinate again, timesing the y coordinate by 3, we're going to get 4 and 9. Yep, and that's it for part A. Now moving on to the next part, it says here is the graph of y equals a times sine of bx for range of x value between 0 and 360 degrees. Now, okay, we got this kind of sine wave graph, but it looks kind of upside down. Find the value of a and the value of b. Alright, so to do this, we need to first remember what a sine wave graph looks like, yeah? So what I do is always sketch it to the right, like something like this. And we know that it's a wave starting from 0, one shift and another shift here, where the maximum point here and the minimum point here matches at 90 degrees. This intersection is 180 degrees and the minimum is 270, and it ends at 360. Okay, so looking at both graphs for a second, one more key aspect is that the maximum on the y-axis is 1 and the minimum on the y-axis is -1. So this is going to literally give us an indication how to solve this one. Now looking at your original sine x graph and comparing it to this other shape, you can see that instead of going upwards, it's going downwards. And notice how it stretches all the way to 2. This means that actually that the entire sine wave has been inverse, so it's actually a negative sine x. But because it's going downwards and it goes down to 2, it's been scaled by 2, by a scale factor of 2. So we know straight away that a must be a -2. Okay, so because it's been scaled by 2 times. Now, as for the loops, notice how we just do one loop up and one loop down. We've actually done how many loops? 1 down and 1 up, and another one, 2 and 3. So actually, we've done this 3 times to get to the 360. And because you've done 3 loops, this means that the value inside the bx must be a 3x. So b is 3. And that's it. These are your 2 answers. All right, number 22. Solve the simultaneous equations. Show clear algebraic working. All right, cool. Now to solve this nice and easy, and actually they've already done this for us. Usually what you would have to do is make one of these letters a subject, and they did it. They made y the subject here, and then substitute back into one of the other equation. Since y equals a subject, we're going to replace this y here with 2x plus 1. So this means this entire first equation now is going to be 2x squared plus 3, and notice is y squared. It's going to be all of the y term, which is 2x plus 1 squared, and that's going to equal to 5. Now all you want to do here, expand this, and then just keep simplifying until you get some terms in terms of x, some equation in terms of x. So therefore, expand this carefully. You still got 2x squared here, 3, and notice you got a squared bracket here. This is basically 2x plus 1 times 2x plus 1. I'm going to do the working out here, yeah? So to expand this, just use the FOIL method, multiply this with that, and 2x of 1, 1 of 2x, 1 of 1. Doing 2x times 2x is 4x squared, 2x times 1 is 2x, and then same thing, 1 times 2x is another 2x, giving you 4x in total. 1 times 1 is plus 1. And now we're going to multiply all of this by 3, yeah? So therefore, 3 times all of this is going to give us 12x squared plus 12x plus 1, and that's all going to equal to 5. Now, one thing you have to always observe for these ones is that this is going to make a quadratic equation, yeah? So what I would do is collect like terms and make it equal to 0. So 2x squared plus 4x squared is going to give us, no, 2x squared plus 12x squared is going to give us 14x squared plus 12x. Now we got plus 1, subtract the 5, you get minus 4 equals 0. Now, for this one, don't bother simplifying too much, just jump straight to the quadratic formula, yeah? So using the quadratic formula, if you remember it, it's going to be x equal minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, guys, yeah? All over 2a. And then substitute all your values in, where a is 14, b is 12, and c is minus 4. You're going to get something like, let's do it, minus 12 plus minus square root. So 12 squared is 144 minus 4 times 14 times negative 4. So yeah, for this case, always wrap your negative in a bracket, all over 2 times a, so 2 times 14. Yeah. And then if you did this carefully and correctly, you should get 2 answers in your calculator. That is the first x value. When you should get 1 over 7, and you should also get, if you try the other sign, negative 1. Or I mean, one of these signs you get one or the other. Okay, so these are your 2 results. Now, it doesn't stop here, yeah? Since you got your x values, you also need your y values, because the solution always has 2, yeah? Now, what I'll do is, since we got x values, I'll look at the original equation and ask myself, which one looks easy to work with? Well, this is definitely easier, because y, it's a linear equation, and it's already equal to y. So all you got to do is replace this x value firstly with 1 over 7 to get an answer. So doing so, you're going to have y equal 2 times 1 over 7 plus 1. It's going to give us 9 over 7. So that's the other pair that goes with this. And the next one, replace x with negative 1. 2 times negative 1 plus 1 will give us another negative 1. So y also equals negative 1. And that's it, guys. That's this wrapped up. All right, guys. Number 23. Let's go. So what do we have here? So it says here, B, C, D, and F are points on a circle. A, B, C, A, F, D, and the rest are straight lines. So basically all of these are straight lines, yeah? Work out the size of angle X. Show your working clearly. Right, so yeah, so circle theorem. So for these kind of questions, it's always important to know as many properties as you can, yeah? But let's just have a go and see what we can find. That's the best way to do these questions. Now, first thing I want you guys to notice is that inside the circle, we have a 4-sided shape. And we have a cyclic quadrilateral, which touches at every corner. Okay, so when it does that, that is literally the cyclic quadrilateral right here. And one of the properties is that when you got an angle on one corner, and its opposite angle, which is another corner, must sum up to 180, yeah? So this is x, and we don't know what this is. This must be, let's call this y. These two must add up to 180, okay? Now, in this case, because you want your answer in terms of x, we can just make y the subject and say, all right, y can equal 180 minus x. So let's put this over here. We'll call this 180 minus x. Now, next step. So same thing applies here, yeah? So this is also cyclic quadrilateral, but we're not going to worry too much about that. We're going to actually work with this 54 here now. Now, look at this triangle head on, yeah? So let me just do it carefully. From A all the way to C, all the way to D. This straight up triangle, let me just resketch it here. If we know that this is 54, this is going to be y. This is going to end up becoming the difference of 54 and that value there, yeah? So let's see. Just give this another layer. I'll call it z. So therefore, 54 plus y plus z must equal 180. Now the trick is, guys, if you get as many questions, as many values as possible, then you've got this, yeah? This is pretty much solved. Now let's look at the next one, the 32 degrees here, yeah? What else do we have? So let's see. So we've got 32, so we can make another triangle. So if you go from B all the way to E all the way, oops, that's so bent. and then E all the way to C, that's another triangle formed. So you got B, E, C. You know this is 32. This is X, so that's already given, and this is Z. Done. And we know that these three must add up to make, what's it called? 180. So X plus Z plus 32 equals 180. Okay, so far so good. What do we do now? So now we got a bunch of equations here. We got equation 1, equation 2, yeah, equation 3 as well. And now all we could do is substitute these back into each other, and then you solve them simultaneously. Eventually you should get an X. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to substitute this equation involving y into this equation over here. This will reduce this equation to 54 plus 180 minus x plus z equal 180. And on both sides we can subtract 180, so these two cancel out. This becomes 0 here now. And now we could just what? We can move minus x and z to the other side, so we're left with literally x minus z equals 54, or whatever. You're gonna get an equation that looks a bit like that. You might get 54 minus x plus z equals 0. Just rearrange it in a form you like. And now looking back at the top left equation here, just subtract 32 across, so you're gonna get x plus z equal 180 take away 32, I think is 148. Okay, good. Now, what do we have here? So it looks like we got two simultaneous equations, one of x plus z, one of x minus z. So let's go put the x minus z equation below this equation here. And then what we're going to do, usually we add or subtract, right? Solve them simultaneously. In this case, I want to get rid of the z. And the only way to get rid of them if you add across downwards. So adding downwards, x plus x is 2x. Z, add minus z gives you nothing, cancels out. And lastly, 148 plus 54, and I did not calculate that, will give you 202. And that's it. And then dividing 2 across, you're left with x equals 101 degrees. And that's it, guys. We are done. All right, guys. Number 24. So what do we have? It says here that P is the point on AB such that the ratio between AP to PB is 3:1. Just looking at it closely, this is talking about from here to here. So if this was 3 parts, this would be 1 part. So if this was length A, this would be 3A, if it was like that. It tells us that Q is on the point on AC such that this line, OQP, is a straight line. So OQP is basically this here. O to Q, Q to P. Now, how do you know something's a straight line? It's only a straight line in terms of vectors if they're both moving in the same direction. So this is kind of what we need to get here. The other piece of information we had earlier is that A to P and P to B is in the ratio 3:1. And we did that over here. Now, since we know that the whole from A to B is 2C, that means 1 part out of the total 4 parts must be, well, 1/4 of 2C, which is 0.5C. And that means the remaining must be 1.5C here, because these two somehow to make 2C. Now, we also need to kind of define, I don't know, figure out what AQ is or something, yeah? Because later on it tells us to use a vector method to find A to Q to C. Okay, so let's just give this vector. Let's just give this a proportional length here. Let's say, all right, let A to Q be, I don't know, some K, like some scale factor K of the whole A to C line. Yeah. The reason why is because we know how to find A to C, where A to C, and this is not too bad. You start A, go all the way to C, so you go back in this direction, minus A across plus C, or C minus A. Therefore, A to Q is going to be K, some scale factor K times the vector C minus A. Okay, now what is next? Well, we're trying to show that firstly, we have a straight line here, right? And we're trying to find a ratio. Let's find, I don't know, O to Q now, yeah? Since we got enough information. O to Q is, how do you go from O to Q? Well, we can go up by A and then following that AQ root we found. So it's just A plus the AQ root, which is K C minus A, okay? And just tidying this up, you can expand this, so you're going to get A plus KC minus AK, collecting in terms of, because for these kind of questions, we must always keep in terms of vectors, yeah? So we're going to have basically factorize the A out. We're going to have 1 minus K plus KC, yeah? I'm going to put a little line for the vectors now. So that's, what's it called, OQ done. Let's find QP. You're going to see what's happening in a second, yeah? Remember, we're trying to show that this is a straight line. And that straight line is basically O to Q is some factor of O to P, is some proportional factor, yeah? So QP, we're going to go back through the AQ root, but backwards. So instead of KC minus A, it'll just be KA minus C. Or you can just put a negative sign instead. Plus 1.5 C. So remember, this is in this direction, yeah? 1 plus 1.5 C. Okay, so far so good. Now to relate them, we can say, alright, we can say that, I don't know, O to Q is basically some scale factor now n of the whole line O to P. Okay, and what this tells us, just replace everything. Since O to Q is all of this, which is A1 minus K plus, I'll put C in front, CK, and O to P, so n times, so O to P is basically going all the way here and then all the way across to P. That's just A plus 1.5 C, and since you're times it by n, it'll just be NA plus 1.5 NC. Now we're almost done, yeah? So this is where vectors get a bit more interesting. So you see what we have here. We have basically two unknowns and a relationship. We can say now in terms of vector A, so looking at vector A on both sides, we have 1 minus k on the left and it must equal n on the right. Looking at vector C, we got k on the left and it must equal 1.5 n. Okay, now what I could do, I could just divide 1.5 across. So dividing 1.5, you're going to get 2/3 k equals n. So just put this in the calculator, 1 over 1.5. And now I'm going to substitute this equation into the first equation. So basically, replace n with 2/3 k, yeah? So you're going to get 1 minus k equals 2/3 k. And now we just solve for k. So let's have a look. So you can plus k to the right, plus 2/3 k plus 1k gives you 5 over 3k, which equals the left-hand side, which is 1. I just flipped it around. And finally, just times 3 divided by 5, k is going to equal 3/5. Whew, yeah, we done it. So we just found out that AQ is 3/5 of the line AC. So this is 3/5 of AC, meaning this is 3 parts. And this must be 2 parts because 2 plus 3 gives us a total of 5 parts. And that's it. So the ratio from A to Q to C is therefore 3 to 2. Whew, yeah, we did it. Anyway, guys, that's this question done. Please leave me some comments on this one. Tell me what you think. But yeah, let me know, guys, and let's move on to the next one. Alright, guys, number 25. Let's do this. So a boat sails from point X to point Y and then to point Z. Y is on a bearing of 280 degrees from X and Z is on a bearing of 220 degrees from Y. Okay, so let's stop there for a second. When you deal with bearings, you always start from the statement where it says from something, because that's where you begin. You never start from Y to go to X, you go from X to go to Y, so from. So what I would do, just put a little coordinate here, X, just draw a north arrow, let's call this X or something, and we want to do a 280 clockwise degree angle, yeah? So think of it this way. So you got one right angle here, which is 90, 180, and then 270. So yep, the line's coming up over here. So we're going to draw a line, something like that, with an angle of 280 degrees. Meaning this little gap here to the north line, 280 plus 80 degrees will give us 360. Because remember, all angles around a point add up to 360. So now this point here, so we're now at, where is it, at Y, yeah? So this is Y. So let me label this X. This is Y, and here's our, okay, Y. And here is our north line here. Let me just put the arrow up. Okay, now it tells us on the next one, Y, so from Y we go 220 degrees to Z, yeah? So let's do it again. So from here you go 90, 180, 270. So it's basically like here. This will give us an angle of 220 degrees. Okay, and just a quick recap here. And yeah, this goes to point Z. Therefore, we can just now connect it to X, if it's a triangle, but I've read it, that's what it is, X, Y, and Z. So the purpose of this question, they probably want you to make some kind of triangle, use cosine and sine rule, and then get the thing done. But let's break up a bit, yeah? Since we know, like, in this kind of shape, this is some sort of allied or corresponding angle, the sum of these two angles must make up 180, yeah? Since this is 80, this is going to be 100 degrees, meaning this little remainder here since the whole thing is 220, this little gap must be 120, because 220 taken 100 is 120. Okay, so far so good, yeah? That's all the gaps so far. Now, what do we have? So the next statement tells us that the distance from x to y is 3.5 kilometers. So that's this line here, 3.5 kilometers. And from y to z is 6. Okay. So far so good. So let's just refresh that again, yeah? So you got, oops. So you got 6, 3.5, 120. And we're trying to find, what is it? Work out the bearing of z from x. So we need to go from x and see how long it gets to angle to this line connecting to z. So we're going to find this part. Okay, and the only way to find it if you work out this unknown angle here first. Let's call this one theta, yeah? Okay, now at this stage, all we have to do is basically pick either the sine or cosine rule and find what we need. Well, unfortunately, with what we got so far here, we can't work out theta because to use a sine rule, we need matching pair of angle and length. We got 6 and theta, but we don't have something 120, and we don't have 3.5 with another angle. So what we could do is use the cosine rule and try and work out this unknown length here. So let's call this unknown length x, yeah? So we can now use basically 6, 3.5x, and angle 120. So the cosine rule was something like that. It was a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a, yeah? Where a is the angle of interest, which is 120, and little a is opposite the angle, which is x, meaning b and c will be 6 and 3.5. So therefore we can say x squared equals 6 squared plus 3.5 squared minus 2 times 6, 3.5, and cos 120. Okay, so when you put this in a calculator and then square root your result, I've done this already, you should get approximately 8.3 kilometers, yeah? So this should be fine. So now we know what x value is. So this length here is 8.3-ish, yeah? Okay, perfect. Since we got this value, let me just update it here. So you got 8.3. Now we can use the sine rule, yeah? So we can use the sine rule and match two pairs. Let's match 8.3, 120, and 6 with theta, yeah? So I'm going to do sine theta over its opposite, 6, equals sine 120 over its opposite, 8.3. Then you multiply 6 across and then sine inverse, yeah? So sine theta equals sine 120 over 8.3 times 6. Put this in your calculator and use the sine inverse bond, so sine -1, yeah? So this in your calculator. And you should get a theta result of, again in this case, approximately 38.6 degrees. Alright guys, so almost done now, yeah? Almost done. So just looking at it again one more time, yeah? So this angle here, let me just fix it up a bit. All of this is 38.6 degrees, yeah? And just remember, we're trying to find a bearing from what? What was we trying to find a bearing from? Oh, I can be lost. Okay, work out the bearing of z from x. So we're from x, which is here, with this line here, point here, so we're going to go basically like that. Since we know all the way around up to here is 280, we can work out that this angle here must just be 280 take away 38.6. So therefore the bearing is going to be the difference between 280 and 38.6. And this, my friends, should give us 241.4 degrees. And that's it guys, we're done, yeah? Give it to one decimal place and you're good. But anyway, thank you for watching guys. I hope you guys have been patient and enjoyed these last two questions. In particular, I'm not gonna lie, the vectors in this one was kind of hard. It took a while, it takes a lot of thinking. But if you have any questions, please let me know and we shall go through it together. Otherwise, I shall see you guys next time. Ciao.